Look, this is a serious investigation. This is about public corruption at the highest levels of our government. We have over 10,000 pages of document that we've obtained pertaining to Hunter Biden's financial transactions with our enemies around the world. We need to ask him hundreds of questions. If he comes in for one hearing with 24 members having 5 minutes each to ask questions, with the Democrats yelling and screaming like they do every hearing, we would probably get about 30 to 35 questions in. We need to ask him hundreds of questions about specific transactions with our enemies around the world.
If you have to sit in front of a camera and continuously tell audience, this is a serious investigation, despite the fact that you've been relaying everything you found for nearly a year, it might be a sign to people that you're conducting a bit of a sham investigation. I mean, these House Republicans really, really now don't want Hunter Biden to speak publicly. And if their reasons weren't all over the place, it might be a little bit more believable.
Abby Lowell knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that the weakest part of this case is if his client has to sit down for directed questioning from a counsel of the majority that can ask a line of questions and not be interrupted every 5 minutes by the rules of the committee if it was public. And, you know, it's going to be very interesting as I look at this whole thing. As you know, Chairman Comer mentioned Steve Bannon, and that reminds me of Peter Navarro as well, who were held in contempt, who were prosecuted by the DOJ. And so, you know, this is a high-stakes game where, you know, if they can't come to some agreement and he doesn't show up for that subpoena deposition, then he should be held in contempt and prosecuted by DOJ just like everybody else has been.
The fact that Republicans had just suffered an underwhelming showing in the 2022 midterms where they expected a mandate where they thought they could then seek revenge on the Democratic Party for whatever they wanted, it doesn't help them clear this hurdle of legitimacy that they're pulling this off now. It's been a year of speculation and assumptions based off of unrelated pieces of information, and their news appearances that aren't on conservative media, those are getting ugly.
You really think the American people are like, wait a minute, so Rudy Giuliani, the president's private lawyer, had a conversation
I think that you came here and leveled a bunch of accusations and allegations about Hunter Biden.
I didn't level. I just said the facts. Did he get paid $50,000 a month?
He was paid by a foreign company. Yeah, he was paid by Burisma. But Joe Biden was trying to get a prosecutor who was not pursuing corruption fired. And it was supported.
It's amazing the gymnastics you guys will go through to defend what you really think the vice president,
the vice president, and I would think somebody who's been accused of things in the last year and two would be more sensitive about throwing out wild allegations against people.
I'm not throwing out wild. I'm throwing out the facts.
The prosecutor was not pursuing corruption. That's why the entire West wanted him fired, including anti-corruption activists in Ukraine. I don't understand what you don't get about that.
I don't get what you don't get about that, Jim. I think he's had it with Jim. You know, when these guys' arguments run into another brick wall, the response is something like, the mental gymnastics you guys will go through, or that sounds like word salad to me. It doesn't make them look very good. In fact, the new Speaker, Mike Johnson, he also didn't expect actual questions about their loose allegations to be asked either at this press conference.
The official act that was corrupt that Republicans are alleging today was that when he was vice president, Joe Biden pushed for the firing of a Ukrainian prosecutor. And this was the subject of the impeachment of Donald Trump. And you had a lot of State Department officials who came in and said, this wasn't Joe Biden's policy, this was our policy. He didn't do this to benefit his son. He did this because we wanted him to do it. So do they all commit perjury, or are you going to bring them back for more interviews? Why are Republicans just ignoring all that testimony?
No one's ignoring testimony.
No one is ignoring testimony, as he goes on to completely ignore the question about testimony that he's ignoring.
Let me tell you the top 4 pieces of evidence with regard to the Biden. I just got bullet points here. From 2014 to 2019, Biden family members and their affiliate companies received over $15 million from foreign companies and foreign nationals. These are all facts. Facts are stubborn things. That included Ukraine, Russia, Kazakhstan, Romania, and China. Biden business associates received an additional $9 million. The chairman here have uncovered a lot of facts. President Biden has, of course, lied at least 16 times about his involvement in his family's business schemes. There are at least 22 examples of Joe Biden speaking with or meeting with Hunter Biden's foreign business associates. The Oversight Committee recently released 2 checks. You see the graphics up here today. These checks are to Joe Biden. One is for $40,000 from China, and another is for $200,000 from a now bankrupt healthcare company that his brother James Biden apparently swindled. Listen, this investigation has to continue because, again, as we said, those facts are stubborn things. I'm not going to answer outside questions about this. We let the facts speak for themselves, and I think you're going to see a lot more developments over that in the days ahead. That was our last question.
He didn't answer the question. He only gave a generic collection of accusations that they've scattered on a table like pieces to a puzzle, but they never show actual evidence. Just look at this. Doesn't it look bad? There must be something here. So I'll say it again. I think Americans actually would be outraged by some corruption from the Bidens if they'd only show it instead of speculate about it over and over and over again. Democratic Representative Jared Moskowitz is never shy about plainly pointing out how desperate and incompetent these House Republicans are with this investigation.
We've seen for a year now the Republicans have presented no evidence, but instead Hunter has said, no, if you're going to come at me in the news media for the last year and say all of these things, I'm going to come and I'm going to get the truth out there. And now Republicans are scrambling because I think the American people want to hear from Hunter Biden. The American people want to see it in public. Republicans saying, oh no, transparency, bad. If they had the evidence, if they had overwhelming evidence on Hunter Biden, rest assured Chairman Clouseau would have a public hearing with every media you could imagine. I mean, he'd be sitting down with Al Jazeera to tell them all of the overwhelming evidence he had on Hunter Biden in a public setting. He would love that, but the reason they don't want that to happen is because they don't have the evidence. They just want to talk to their echo chamber. The chairman just wants to run to Sean Hannity like a wet blanket, and they wanted to say Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden. If you have the evidence, show it to the American people in a public hearing.